Welcome to Candid Africa, truthful and unapologetic.
I happen to be very familiar with Africa, and I have been for quite some time. On the Senate Armed Services Committee, I think they consider me the point man for Africa. Our Côte d'Ivoire is a West African country. We've been reading about it. You don't read much about it. It's sub-Saharan Africa. Nobody cares about sub-Saharan Africa. Anyway, the news is reporting that President Gbagbo, that's the seated president, and his wife Simone, were captured yesterday by the French military forces, acting with the rebel forces of Alassane Ouattara. According to the BBC and Reuters, that after the UN and the French helicopters repeatedly attacked the presidential palace, French special forces stormed the building with up to 30 French tanks and armored vehicles and took them both from the presidential palace. Mr. President, this is not peacekeeping, this is war-making. This is not the role of the United Nations. And I question why the French are participating in this battle. The African Union has also condemned this foreign military intervention. You know, why don't we listen to Africa? Africa, for so many years, they were used, they were abused, they were by the colonialism. And certainly no one has been worse or more offensive in that than the French have. But they don't listen to Africa. I hope every president of sub-Saharan Africa is watching right now, because what happened there can happen to any country in sub-Saharan Africa. You know, I wonder sometimes, why is it nobody cares about sub-Saharan Africa? I remember way back in 1998, when under President Clinton, they were going to send troops into Kosovo. And the excuse they were using at that time was ethnic cleansing. And I said on the Senate floor, I said, why is it we're all concerned about ethnic cleansing in Kosovo for every one person in Kosovo who's been ethnically cleansed on a given day? 100 in any one country in sub-Saharan Africa has, but nobody cares. Nobody cares about sub-Saharan Africa. Why is there no outcry for these millions of people who are being brutally murdered in other places in the world in sub-Saharan Africa? I have to say this, and I know that I'm repeating what I said in 1998 on the floor. I have to say this, and I know it's very unpopular to say it, but I'm going to quote a guy whose name is Roger Wilkins. He's professor of history and American culture at George Mason University. He said, quote, "I think it is pretty clear. U.S. foreign policy is geared to the European-American sensibility, which takes the lives of white people much more seriously than the lives of people who are not white." Because this is not about the Gbagbos. It's about the modern-day return to French colonial imperialism. And this time, with the help of the United Nations, they were doing this. Here's what my concern is. Côte d'Ivoire has had a hard enough time trying to break free from the yoke of French colonialism. From the days of President Houphouët-Boigny in 1960 through Bédé in 2000, then Gbagbo when he was elected in the year 2000. Now, up to that time, the French has virtually owned all the presidents. They're all right there with France. All you have to do is go through the streets of Abidjan, what streets might be left right now, I doubt if there are many, and you'll see that that's happening. So it's not just the Gbagbos. Any president on the African continent in sub-Saharan Africa should know this could just as well happen to them. And their ministers and their friends. And so again, I would say to any of our friends in any of the presidents of any of the countries in sub-Saharan Africa, put that back up. What has happened right here could very well happen to the presidents or the first ladies of your countries.
Did you like or hate what you heard? Let us know in the comments below.